Good evening, dear friends. Welcome to Newspaper Analysis Town Hall. Today is 5th of August and we will discuss these 4 important themes in today's analysis. So the first news is related to India's foreign policy with respect to Myanmar. And why this news is important? Because recently Myanmar has removed the state of emergency in the country, and this emergency was imposed in 2021 when democratically elected government was removed in Myanmar by military coup. So we will try to analyze what author is about to say with respect to India's foreign policy. But before that, we have introduced active recall questions which you can attempt by downloading the file from comment section. And if you are able to answer these questions, it means that you have listened to this discussion carefully, and these important questions can be asked in the prelims examination. So this is going to be your self-assessment with respect to this discussion. Now let us see the news. We will discuss what author is prescribing with respect to India's foreign policy priority in Myanmar. We will also see why Myanmar is important for India in the geopolitical context, and also with respect to Chinese angle. Now let us move on. So this is the map. Here you can see this is Myanmar. And it is bordering various states of India. This is China. This is Thailand. This is Laos. And this is Bangladesh-Myanmar boundary. Now the context of this news is that in 2015, historic election were conducted in Myanmar, and government led by Aung San Suu Kyi was formed in the Myanmar. And this period from 2015 to 2020 was a democratic phase of Myanmar. India had a very, very good relationship with this government because she is the champion of peace, democracy, and she got Nobel Peace Prize in 1991 for advocating democracy for the citizens of Myanmar. She is the daughter of Myanmar's independence hero, Aung San. And she has very, very good relationship with Indian government. Now in 2021, there was a military coup, and after that, military is ruling till now, and that rule is called Janta's rule. And present acting president is Min Aung Hlaing in Myanmar. Now after the coup, what has been India's response? India's response has been neutral. Though India maintained that there should not be, India support no violence, India supports elections as soon as possible. But India has not actively opposed the government run by military. Now let us try to understand why Myanmar is important. As you can see in this map, that Myanmar is a very important buffer with respect to China. Myanmar is very important for India's Act East policy because Myanmar is the bridge to South East Asia. India also has a very long border with Myanmar, and therefore the security of border is also dependent on cooperation with Myanmar. So these are the geopolitical context in which Myanmar is important. Myanmar is also very important pillar of neighborhood first policy of India. Now there are a lot of connectivity projects, and some important projects are these. This is Trilateral Highway, which is connecting More in India to Mysore in Thailand. So this highway is India, Myanmar, Thailand highway. Now there is another important project, that is Kaladan Multimodal Project. So you can see that this project is commencing from Calcutta, and through sea road it is connecting to Shitwe port in Myanmar, and then through Kaladan river the connectivity is going to Paleteva, and from there is land route to Mizoram as well. So this is also very important project, and Myanmar cooperation is required for the execution of this project. India is able to connect West Bengal to Mizoram by bypassing the Chicken's Neck through this Kaladan multimodal project. Now, what author is telling about change that is required in India's foreign policy? Basically, author is not happy that India is supporting military rule by giving it aid, and this aid also include some military aid, by not opposing it on diplomatically on global forums such as United Nations. Now let us try to understand the context. Now, in 1988, there was huge public protest which happened against military in Myanmar. So what military did? Military repressed the people, resorted to violence, and at that time India supported those protesters. India provided sanctuary to the people who fled Myanmar, and in 1992 India voted against Janta, that is military government, for violation of human right. So that is why the 𝐼𝐸 government, that is called National Unity Government, is seeking India's support for the resistant movement that is going on in Myanmar at present, and that movement is called Spring Movement. Presently, Janta government, that is military government, controls only 30% of the territory. Now what this author is saying, that India should support federal democracy in Myanmar and engage with pro-democracy actors such as the government in exile, that is NUG government, that was removed in 2015. And what author is also suggesting, that India should end military alliance with present Janta government, that is military rule government, and India it should not export materials which can be dual use, such as diesel, such as communication networks, and India should also enable humanitarian access, free movement regime across borders, so that people who are flooding Myanmar can come to India, especially in states like Manipur, Mizoram. And India should also protect refugees. Though India is not a signatory to 1951 Refugee Convention, which is administered by UNHCR. However, in international law, there is principle of non-refoulement. It means that if someone is fleeing their country for the fear of death, then they should not be sent back to that country forcibly. So these are the suggestions of the author. However, India is following a pragmatic policy. Presently, India is not following an ideological or value-driven policy, because India has to protect its own interest. Also, India needs support of Myanmar government in the border region, because there is insurgency in the border region, in the border states. India needs Myanmar government support for connectivity projects like Kaladan, and India needs to be in touch with government so that government does not become pro-China completely. So we have to protect our interest from Chinese point of view also, because Chinese government is completely supporting the military government in Myanmar, both diplomatically as well as militarily. So these are the arguments that are why Indian government has not taken this route. So that is it in this topic. Let us move on to our next topic. So Parliamentary Consultative Committee on Defence, it has reviewed women inclusion in armed forces, and it has concluded that the number of women in armed forces has been rising steadily since 2005. So let us try to first see about parliamentary consultative committees. What are these? These are not parliamentary committees per se. These are attached with the various departments of government. These are formed when Lok Sabha, after the elections of Lok Sabha, and they are coterminous with the length of duration of the Lok Sabha. These are created by Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs. The chairperson of a Parliamentary Consultative Committee on Defence is Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh. The members are from both houses, Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha. The maximum strength can be 30 and the minimum 10. Presently, 15 members in this committee are from Lok Sabha and 6 members are from Rajya Sabha. So presently 21 members are there for this committee. Now let us see the inclusion of women personnel. In IAF, women constitute 13.4%, the highest. In Army, 6.85%. In Navy, it is 6%. So there is one case, Union of India versus Babita Punia and others, 2020. This case, judgment was given by former CGI Chandrachud, and it granted permanent commission to women officers in Army in 10 eligible streams except combat. And it held that denying women command position in the armed forces violate Article 14, that is right to equality. So you can use this case law in your mains answers. Now let us move on to our next topic. So Trump has started or taking steps against India in trade domain, and he announced 25% tariff on imports from India plus a penalty. Why? Because India is purchasing oil from Russia, and Trump is arguing that the money Russia is getting from this oil sale is being used against Ukraine. So this is what Russia is also, this is what US is also saying, and this is what European Union is also saying against India. Now what Indian government has done, it has rebutted these claims, and it has said that it is a hypocrisy, basically. US is also importing from Russia. US is importing uranium hexafluoride, which is used in US nuclear industry. It is importing palladium, which is used in EV industry, electrical vehicle industry. It is imposing various chemicals, including fertilizers. So US has not stopped its own import from Russia, but it is targeting India politically. So India is saying, Indian Ministry of External Affairs has said that India is being targeted, and which is unjustified and unreasonable, Now, talking about European Union, the bilateral trade of European Union with Russia was 67.5 billion euros in 2024, and they are importing the liquefied natural gas, huge amount from Russia. So what right European Union has to tell India not to import oil from Russia? Now India is also given the reason why India is importing oil. Why? Because number one, when the Ukraine war started with Russia, huge amount of oil supply was redirected to Ukraine and European region from Middle East. That is why India turned to Russia in the interest of global energy market stability. And at that time, US also supported such import. Now, India also required a predictable supply of oil, and India also required an affordable supply. And that is why India is importing oil from Russia. So these are the arguments that are given by India. Basically, what Indian Ministry of External Affairs have implied that US and Europe claims are hypocritical. This is hypocrisy. They are themselves doing trade with Russia, and they do not want India to do trade with Russia. Now there are some trade unions in India which has issued a joint statement which have told Indian government to reject threat by Trump. Because these trade unions believe that it will compromise India's strategic autonomy. It would grant American corporations unrestricted access to India's dairy sector, which will result in price collapse. Why? Because these companies will sell dairy products for very less price in India. This will destroy Indian farming community, Indian dairying community. And it can endanger the whole food security of the nation. They are also saying that it will lead to deindustrialization of India, and it will lead to huge amount of unemployment. That is also a reason why India does not want to open its dairy sector to USA, because it will adversely impact Indian farmers and people employed in this sector in India. So let us move on to our next news. So next news is about this. You can see tortoise. It is Asian giant tortoise. It is important for your prelims perspective. The IUCN status is critically endangered. It is the largest tortoise in Asia. It is protected under Appendix 2 in CITES. It is not just found in India. It is also found in various countries like Indonesia, Bangladesh, etc. Generally, its habitat is tropical and subtropical hills. So this is it. Some facts from these can be asked in your prelims examination. So dear friends, try to attempt these questions. Try to attempt these questions and write answers in comment box. And if you have any other question, you can also write in comment box. Thank you.